Hey, doing our reading a little bit earlier today because I don't know what's happening this afternoon. I've got a few things on and I want to make sure I stay consistent, and thank you to those who are encouraging me to stay consistent. Love doing these readings. It's bringing back all sorts of memories. This one was a little bit testier. I had a bit of an attitude and I remember it quite well. And then coincidentally, well, not that it bothered me, but when I went onto my YouTube, there were some comments there that I thought, oh, wow, I got trolled. Yay. They were Christian trolls. Yeah, good on you guys. About women not speaking and whatever it is that they want to say. And it occurred to me that what a great strategy of the enemy to create a doctrine or a false doctrine or a narrative that actually silences 50% of the army, that like the enemies. We're his enemies, so he wants to silence. If he can silence 50% of the people he's against, then tell him women aren't supposed to speak. It's just very poor theology to work the one out. I'm not here to defend. If you don't want to listen, go ahead. So, if I can't read a book online, I think you're the one with the problem. Anyway, I don't even, those sort of people are not really that much even in my world, because I belong to a denomination that doesn't have a problem with it and have interpreted things in a much more sensible way for what I think anyway. In the same way that in the old days, people tried to justify slavery and enslaving black folk because of their interpretation of taking the Bible the wrong way. So compare those two. Anyway, no trolls, please don't. I'm not going to publish them. I'll just delete them. So getting back to it. The 11th letter is continued, Wednesday, the 25th of March. I'm feeling cranky and out of sorts this evening about 5 little things designed to humiliate and underline my powerlessness combined to discourage me. You ever felt like that? There's just a number of things going on. Any one of them I could shake off, from officers blowing both hot and cold about what I can take for lunch at the cemetery to a particular supervisor who plays mind games to assert dominance. This is a letter that would have got read by the officers. So no wonder I got kicked out later on. There's a spoiler alert. There's letters and there's journal entries, and these letters are the ones that I wrote to my family and friends, and they actually got read by the filters. The officers would read all the letters for anything incriminating. Unfortunately, I play politics badly, and I don't always provide the right answers. I've always been a bit clueless when it comes to those sorts of games. Okay, it's like working for a corporation that has very strict guidelines, yet fails to inform all the managers and staff. So it reminds me of the time when I used to work for Dreamworld, and I was hired as the full-timer in the photo shop, the old-time photo shop where you'd get dressed up in old-fashioned clothes. This is in my 20s. And the supervisor for the photographics area said, Trish, you're in charge. You're responsible. You're the manager here. And no one told the staff. And mine was a job that they had applied for. They were casuals, and they had applied for a job to be full-time doing what they're already doing. And they brought me in from outside. Not only did they bring me in from outside, they didn't tell the staff that I was in charge. So I'm saying, okay, Wendy, you can go to lunch now. And she's like, who do you think you are? And here we have, hey, Coconuts, this is my mate, and she was at Dreamworld with me. So you remember, it was so funny. And I had to win those girls over again. Oh, my goodness. So, yes, one of them went and complained to the supervisor that I was telling them, I was acting like I was in charge and what to do. And I got in trouble because the supervisor who told me it was his day off, wasn't it? So I get in trouble. And so, there's communication and rules and things. You think it's bad in the corporate world, you try prison. It's just where they actually don't care, and it's not a customer service industry. So, and I'm not staff. I'm not someone who needs to be spoken to with, oh, they're supposed to, but, you know. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go and explore my stinky attitude. Okay, so where are we? Yes, it's like working for a corporation that has very strict guidelines, yet fails to inform all the managers and staff. That doesn't happen, does it? Just one example is the form our friends and family must fill out to be able to visit. Okay. I received a message saying I had to send one to a particular friend who had contacted the centre to ask what to do. Now, this is Helena Jones Centre, which is in Albion on Sandgate Road, that big green fence. So they had called up Helena Jones Centre to say, how do I visit Trish? So they sent me a message to tell that friend, to write to that friend and tell them how to apply to come in. They couldn't have just told it themselves. So I said, thank you. Where do I find the form? On the form racks in the dining room. I looked and looked, no form. Back to the office. There aren't any there. Would you like me to top it up? How many do you need? One, please. Here. Thanks, but would you like me to put more in the forms rack? No, they don't go on there. But you have to ask for them and you have to post them out. Okay, thank you. Shortly after this confusing interchange, Justin informed me that anybody can download the form from the internet. You want to visit someone in prison, you go to the internet, you go to the place, the website of the place where your friend or loved one is being incarcerated, and there will be a link to a form that you can fill out, and you tell them everything about yourself, where your birthmark is, all that sort of stuff. And then it'll take about 8 weeks usually, unless someone's got a really, really short sentence, and then it might be quicker. Okay. I was also summoned to answer a question about my mail. Have you asked for any religious paraphernalia to be sent to you? No, but my friends might do that. So, this guy. I remember this. So you never wrote to Kenneth Copeland Ministries asking for leaflets? No, well, hang on. I wrote to them weeks ago from back at the prison asking for a Bible. Has it arrived? I mean, am I allowed to have it? So this was weeks earlier, back when I was at the main prison. I asked, could they send me a Bible? Because I couldn't have my own brought in. At the prison, at Helena Jones, I could because it was minimum security. Did you tell them you're a prisoner? I said, probably. Did you misrepresent yourself as a chaplain? No, of course not. Well, what about this? And he presented an envelope to me with a flourish. It was from KCM, Kenneth Copeland Ministries. Hold on, I'll just put this on silent. Do not disturb. And then I'll get back to them. Okay. It was from KCM, Kenneth Copeland Ministries, addressed to Patricia Jenkins, Care, Prison Chaplains, BWCC. Patricia Jenkins, Care, Prison Chaplains, BWCC. Americans address things a little differently, but anyway, we'll get to that. And I burst out laughing. Misrepresenting your identity is a serious matter. You should not be laughing. He was very serious. You'd think I'd offended him. Oh dear. I was never one to miss an opportunity to dig the hole I'm in deeper. This time was no different. So, clueless, I persisted. It's funny because I didn't quite get, all I saw was Care, Prison Chaplain. I didn't know. I wasn't processing because I'm on the spot. I'm in trouble. You can't think straight when you're in trouble. So, and if you're a leader and you're angry at someone and you're hammering at them and you're expecting an answer, don't expect a clear one. You're being an idiot. Be patient and pull back if you really want answers. You're like the teacher who hits the kid on the head for not being able to spell back in the days when they did that. So I persisted. It's funny, really. I wrote and told them that I'd been praying, digging the hole deeper. I wrote and told them I'd been praying for the ladies and had introduced about 15 of them to Jesus. They must have assumed I was in ministry. And actually, all of us are in ministry, every believer. And I babbled on, and he wasn't impressed. We discussed specifically that you are not a chaplain, did we not? Someone's asserting their authority when they use formal old-fashioned syntax, such as, did we not, instead of didn't we? You see, when I first came there, he's the guy that you would sit down and talk to about what programs you might do. And I remember offering, I said, look, I was trained as a teacher. I could help with literacy. I could help with this and that. And he actually at the time felt the need to say, Trish, we are not colleagues. Like, yeah, I know that. I'm just trying to help because I just wouldn't, didn't play the game very well. Still had to get rid of that personal dignity, where you actually talk to someone like normal. He says, yes, but So he's going, did we not discuss this? And I said, well, yes, but this was a letter from before that, and every believer is a minister, and I was just doing there've been no complaints here. End of conversation. So he thinks I misrepresented myself as a chaplain. And then I had to dig it deeper. And I just didn't get it. That would have been an opportunity. That would have been an opportune time for me to be told that I was going to Warwick to work next Monday, but instead I hear it from other prisoners he's spoken to. Phew. I'm not mad now. I see the funny side of this place. So what actually happened was, in Australia, we would say care of, the name of the person, care of prison chaplaincy, but they just put care prison chaplain, and it's like the caring prison chaplain. And I didn't pick up that in that moment in time. So what do you do? Damned if you do and damned if you don't. Couldn't think of it. Everything I write to you, I must be prepared to explain to the supervisors, including the gentleman referred to. Like many of the non-Christian authority figures who are forced to address my faith, because I didn't hide it, I believe there is an element of fear there. I suspect both he and the previous fellow I upset, I upset someone else with my faith at the prison, this is what I suspected. I suspected they were what we'd call mainstream Christians, so someone who's been sprinkled as a baby and nothing more, perhaps, who don't really know what to do with someone who lives their faith unashamed and with boldness. The supervisor had, so I've got in italics here because I've got little notes that I slotted in, so you can sort of see that the print is a little different where I've got, where is it? Down there, in italics. The supervisor had said he was one, but he wouldn't say which church he attended. It obviously wasn't my kind, wacky Pentecostal kind. We're very expressive. John 3:20 says, for everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light lest his deeds be exposed. A sincere Christian offends the nominal Christian because of the contrast in spiritual awakening is obvious. It's a problem for people who think they're better than you, i.e., not a criminal. So here's someone who's not a criminal looking at a criminal who's full on for God. And look, desperate times call for desperate measures. Looking back, I'd probably tone it down a bit, but I just didn't. I was full on. So I'm practicing more of my Christianity than he is, and I'm the criminal. It's a problem for people who think they're better than you to be confronted with an inferior who acts more like a Christian than they do. And the cemetery supervisor had told me how important his Catholicism was to him. He was proud to be working for the church in the cemetery. And he said he's part of a secret club of Catholics in strategic positions, which sounded a lot like Freemasonry to me. I've got no problem with Catholics. I married one. I love them. But it's like they've got something to prove to someone who's open about their faith, not just Catholics, but people who are mild about it kind of are uncomfortable around people who are open about it, about their faith. If people are not Christians, okay, if people are not Christians, I don't expect them to act like they are. If you're not, I don't expect you to live the same values as me. You do what you want according to your values. But if they are, though, if they do say they're Christian and they act differently, I'll notice. I'm not saying I judge, but I'll notice. I might even quietly challenge them on it, even if it's only with a raised eyebrow. Start dropping the F-bomb, and you're a supervisor. The problem with telling me you're practicing anything is that I'll know when you're being a hypocrite. When he used foul language, I said nothing, yet he could see I noticed the inconsistency in his character. People hate that. A lowly criminal making you notice your own sin, pricking your conscience. It was to become a problem for me down the track. Anyway, I'll leave it there. That's enough for today. So if you want to find out more about the book, I have a playlist on YouTube, which is my YouTube channel is Trish Jenkins Ministries. And you can Google that. I can put the link in there. There are more readings there, and I'll keep going with this month of 30 days of reading. We'll see how far we go and if I keep going. All right, bless you heaps. Feel free to share this, comment, like, all that sort of thing. All right, bless you heaps. Bye-bye.